Okay, McKinsey looked into our procurement spend. They told us we can save millions. And so we go into the data, we take a look at what's really happening, and we have nothing to go on. This is what one of our clients told us, and this is the theme or the trigger that caused the theme of these 3 podcasts in the series. We're going to do a series around data management, and we're going to tell you why it's important, what you can do with it, and where the value add lies. Hi, I'm Stephanie Wiechers.
Hello, my name is Erwin de Wert.
And we are part of Pearstop. So we are experts in data management, data quality, and how to use that and drive value from that in technical industries. So
So
today's
data management, right? It's the most fun topic in everything what we do. However, it's interesting to focus in these 3 different episodes from this podcast. So why it's so important, what you can do with it, and also what kind of solutions there are in the market right now that can really help you to solve this. And great thing about this McKinsey, of course, how they approach it. And we are happy to help this client, of course, to get it fixed in another way.
yeah. So before we lose you on the point of data and what does that even mean, don't worry. We're going to go through a number of concrete examples, and we're really going to focus around what's going to be the value and how is it going to help you hit your targets, do your work better, and create a bit less of that admin that we all dread.
Yeah, so tell me then why data is so much fun, Stephanie.
Yeah, well, I love data, but I'm a bit of a nerd, and I realize that most people in the world have more fun hobbies than me. Anyway, so I got very obsessed with it, and the reason for that is when you have a good data baseline, there's so much you can do. And when we talk about data, we mean all different types of information that you might store in, well, it can be a system like an ERP system, but it can also just be whatever you have in an Excel sheet. And I'll give you some examples of what data can mean. So it can mean everything we buy as a company, all of our spend lines, that's a piece of data. It can be a database. We shouldn't be counting how many times I'm going to be using this word today, of the assets that we service. So it will be a list of like light bulbs installed, maybe some smart ones as well. It will be a list of HVAC systems. It will be a list of machines and medical equipment. Like it can really be anything that reflects what are we actually doing within our operations. There's also other types of data like HR data, so everything around your personnel and staff. That's not specifically our specialization, but that's like another example of also another piece of your business that contains just any type of information that you would store.
Basically, you can also say it very simply. It's the fuel for many things to make it happen. And of course, everybody like to see the shining objects. So what is finally what you get out of this and what you can do with that? And that's the thing that we all like to have in the end, right? But it's same like your car. You can, of course, have the best car in the world, but if there is no energy in energy supply, you not fuel it with electricity or, petrol or so, then you will not go anywhere. And that's the same here. So you will not go anywhere if you're not organized this part of what is just needed, right? And so that's why it's a topic that you cannot ignore and should have the right attention.
Yeah, that's true. So in this series, we're going to do a 3-part series around data quality and data management. And we are going to do everything we have, and we're going to give it our all to make sure that everyone can understand this and drive some value from it. So today, we're really talking about the foundational layer, and we're going to do that not from our like nerdy geek perspective. We're not going to tell you how to code, but we are going to tell you how it works, so you have the right tools to evaluate like what decisions should I or should I not make? And what can I do to make improvements to guarantee quality without creating lots of extra work? Actually, workload usually goes down when this is done well. And then I'm actually really excited to take you to the next two episodes as well, where in next week's episode, we're going to be talking around what are the value add opportunities here. So that's a lot around flexibility. I'm not going to go into it too much, but so what can you then do with it? And then the third one, I'm so excited about that. We are going to be sharing some very practical examples, so real world cases and the difference that made. And as part of the preparation for this series, we did a number of CEO interviews, both with like medium-sized companies, but also with some of the biggest players in the industry. And we're going to share some of the insights that we've gotten from them. So I'm so excited already to share this with you. I can't wait. Anyway, today we're talking about foundations because we do need to have a strong foundation before we can get started, so we hit the ground running.
Sounds great. Okay. Yeah. So tell us a little bit more about data, and one topic that also interests me. So there is, of course, how do you say, data legacy, right? That companies, they have all kind of data. And now you realize if you want to use AI and all other kind of applications, you need to restructure that and all this kind of thing. But the other thing is also, I'm just wondering, and I'm curious what the CEO say about that, is how it changes your behavior for the future, right? So knowing now how you need this in what kind of, let's say, structure and so on, how it changes the organizational structure and the behaviors also.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we see what we see. One thing that I've kept hearing in these interviews is everyone wants to be flexible. And once you have a smart team, you have really good people, you just want to empower them to do their work so they are well able to make all these analyses. And this is something we're going to go into more depth in next week's episode. But basically, this foundational layers is what you need. Let me go into an example. We can take the example of how we started to really clarify what we mean here. So this specific example is around procurement, and it's a really interesting project that we've worked on. And basically, what was happening is, well, this big management consultant, we're not going to name them, they made an analysis and they basically identified, okay, if we look at your spend data, then there is a huge variance between what you're spending on the same service. Or, in other words, there is an opportunity to make a big cost saving there when you do, well, either better negotiations or you have a better baseline on what a specific service should cost or can cost. And that's a very integrated analysis where, of course, you do need to be very, very aware of, okay, but what did that specific service entail? Because we can't compare two subcontractors that haven't done the same job. And so that's where the complexity lies, because what happened there is they came in, they made this analysis, but they just took the entire database of, okay, these are all of our spend items. So this is everything that we've bought. And well, I can't disclose how many items there were, but like a lot. And also too many to really realistically go over by hand and do it accurately and be very, very conscientious around that. However, this is what they did. And well, it's a very pragmatic approach and I do encourage it. And it does lead you to draw certain conclusions. And it did identify this pattern within the spend where there were opportunities. But then the next step is, and of course, like consultants are known for this, right? They come with the strategy and they have the good ideas, but they have no means of operationalizing, or maybe even stronger, like even when they finish, you have no means of operationalizing. So then all the teams went into, okay, well, we have our local entity, and we see these opportunities. And then they went through what was actually happening and what came out of this analysis. And they were like, yeah, but this isn't detailed enough and this isn't correct. There's still errors in this. So that's where, well, in the industry, we always say shit in, shit out. Excuse my language here, but that's definitely what happens is if you don't make the right analysis to start with, then you can say that we are able to do all these cost savings, but then where are they? And so the big challenge here was to create this baseline and to make the analysis a similar analysis as the consultant did, but to do it super accurate and basically be able to identify this is what we've spent money on. These are like the exact products versus which suppliers we bought them at and when. And that then allows for many different things, and that ties into also to next week's episode. But like what that allows you to do is it allows you to make this one-on-one comparison between a service that you've bought or a product that you've bought, like a component that you've bought. And so that's what we mean by, well, data quality. It's making sure that every single item is put into an overview or a table in such a way that you can start creating analysis around it and start working with it.
Sounds complex also and very intense work. Sounds like a lot of manual work. So yeah, what's your view on that? So how that
Yeah,
progress? Because what I see is that a lot of companies, they, it's not their favorite topic because of these reasons, like a lot of manual things. You must be accurate, like you
yeah,
say, and basically you change also data into information, right?
yeah,
So by adding this, let's say, knowledge, this clever knowledge also onto the data, you can do the things that you want to do with this.
yeah. Well, you're right. I mean, it is complex. Otherwise, it wouldn't be a problem, right? Otherwise, everyone would have solved it and would have perfect data management and perfect data quality. But complex doesn't mean impossible. Complex just means think about it in a smart way and create a system around it. So the the thing that we see happening is, well, okay, this is changing a bit with AI, but what we saw happening a lot is, okay, we just need to get it solved. So we're going to put a team on it. But then, I mean, are you going to hire like 4 people that then like manually go over and review everything? I mean, you could, but that's like a really big expense. So then you need to be really certain of the value add that that's going to drive. And so that's one reason why we see it's often just not done, and like left, and then you accept that there are wins to be made, but the cost of uncovering them is just higher than
Yeah, and
knowing.
also quality level, right? You spoke
Yeah,
about qualities, but you
yeah,
can say what you want, but if you involve this like a human labor,
yeah,
it's of course very repetitive work. So there's also high risk of inaccuracies, I would say.
yeah,
So that's not an ideal thing. And yeah, so but there are other ways, and that's
yeah,
why, of course,
yeah,
you will hear later in the upcoming episodes
yeah,
also how that can look like.
yeah.
So
Well,
there
I'm
is a
glad
lot of light.
you still touched on that point because that is something that's really good to consider here. So my background is around human machine interaction, right? So how do people interact with the system? There is something that we always underestimate, or well, we actually always overestimate ourselves, and we think that we're so well able to do any type of job. But humans are notoriously bad at performing repetitive, boring tasks. And think about it. I mean, if you are going to have to sit next to a line of Coca-Cola bottles and put caps on every single one of them, and you also need to make sure to like spell check every single O, and there has to be like some very specific detail that you have to see. I mean, because of the repetition, you're going to get bored, and so your mind is going to start to wander. And before you know it, you've just put the caps on without really looking at them. And I mean, that's not a flaw in our system. That's actually why we're smart and why we're good at things. And so when our brain capacity gets underused, we start to fill it up. And I mean, this is the trick around this data quality, is that just we need to keep in mind that in the end, it's going to be people working with the data, working with the system. It's going to be people doing the inputs. So there are going to be human errors in there. And rather than being like, "Ah, that's not allowed," just think this is normal. How do we deal with it? And how do we create a system around it that picks those things up to allow us then to take those next steps in handling the data and creating the value add that we're after?
Yeah, sounds good. So we will reveal more of that, of course, in the upcoming episodes, how that works. There is a lot of hope to reduce, let's say, the manual labor, increase quality, and all at the same time. And then data will be more fun, right?
Yeah,
Well, it's important, of
absolutely.
course, because we see a rise of, well, all managers and people that like to make smart decisions. They understand they need to take smart decision based on information, and to get this information, like you gave a couple of examples with HR or procurement, or can be manufacturing information, all kind of information,
Mhm.
even about all your systems running and so on and so forth. So that means information is vital. Everybody see that, and we see also the race of systems like Fabric and all kind of analytics programs, and they need this data as a fuel, right?
Yeah.
And that
Yeah,
so that's
absolutely.
where you run into this same issue, and
Yeah.
that's why we like to discuss also with the audience how you can cope with that.
Yeah. Well, I'm really excited to go more into those details and topics of what then to do with it, including Fabric and including all these other tools. So, well, I'm excited to talk to you about that next week. And
Yeah, so next week we will cover what you can do when you have your data structured and in order the right way, right? And with some examples also.
amazing. Well, see you next week.
Yeah, well, looking forward to it already.
Yeah, me too. It will be a fun conversation and fun to go like that. We're gonna go into the value of this rather than all the nitty gritty around it.
Okay,
Cool.
well,
See you next
all right
week.
then. See you then.